Now, the first chapter of Romans, beginning with verse 26. For this cause God gave them up unto vile affections. For even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature. And likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their, and even as not convenient, being filled with all unrighteousness, fornication, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, debate, deceit, malignity, whisperers, backbiters, haters of God, despiteful, proud, boasters of it, then you're equally guilty, or I'm equally guilty. And that bothers me when I watch some things on television. Of seeing Mr. Kenyatta when we met him, and then his daughter gave a marvelous luncheon for us. She was the mayor and could not give it. Mao Zedong in China, and many others in our time that have killed thousands and millions of people, prisoners, and so forth, to Jesus Christ. And he had thought his way through in that prison in 16 years. And he decided to make it about a man that I think was probably more wicked, more terrible than Stalin or Hitler. And his name was ever had. He died. Please, oh Lord, spare my life. So the Lord spared him for 15 years. And a few years later, in that 15-year period, was born Manasseh, who became the wickedest of all the kings. Some people lived too long. I know people now that I think would have died it'd been much better had they died earlier. That's right. Came in later under Nebuchadnezzar and stole all that. But Hezekiah would not accept the will of God. And so he turned to God and begged him to live. He refused to accept death, and he did not set his house in order. Yes, I think some people do live too long. Manasseh became king at the age of 12, and he set himself to undo all the good things that his father had accomplished. He was a very wicked man. The Bible says that he was guilty of some of the worst idolatry in the history of all of Israel or Judah. He set up gods everywhere, even in the temple of God, other gods where people worship. And idolatry is anything that comes between you and God. It's where self is preferred over God, so that all of us here can say in one sense we've been guilty at one time or another of idolatry. And God hates idolatry more than any other sin. And under the law, the Bible says, is idolatry. If you covet, if you have greed, and he looked at a city, the Bible says, given wholly to idolatry. And Paul warned the Corinthian Greeks, flee from idolatry in 1 Corinthians 10. And Paul defined a Christian to the Thessalonians as someone who had turned to God from idolatry to serve the living and the true God. Are you guilty of idolatry? Is covetousness a part of your life? Is greed a part of your life? Do you spend time or study of the Bible? What is your idol? We have today almost a worship of film stars, television stars, sports